And here we go. Hello, everybody. How you doing tonight? Well, that's good. Big Daddy Graham in here with you for I don't know what to call this. This is sort of like a dry run podcast. At the moment, I'm calling it from the wheelchair since I'm doing this show. Actually, you can't see it, but I am in my wheelchair. I'm sitting in my kitchen. I got my friend Norman Clark running around, my daughter Ava, my dog Bo, and we'll see how this goes. I'm doing this because of the tremendous outpouring of love that you guys have sent my way since this accident happened to me on July 21st. I will get more into that towards the end of the show. All right. I want to thank Armin Cadillac, really nice people, the Crest Tavern, Dr. Don, Zally ShopRite, uh, Mike Romano's Legal Services. Uh, just thanks to none of these people are sponsoring this particular show, but they were proud sponsors of the Big Daddy Graham Show for years. I'm going to do 10 topics tonight, folks. There's no music, there's no sound effects. If this show continues, I will add those. In the meantime, I am looking at this show also as a dress rehearsal to getting me back on the air at 94 WIP. My bosses have made it very clear the second I want to come back on the air there, they will be ready for me to do so. At the moment, I don't have the stamina, I think, to do a 4-hour show, but here's the start of it tonight by doing this. So thanks to everybody at WIP who stood by me as well. I'm not going to be smiling much tonight. In the middle of all this, with me being in a wheelchair and whatnot, I lost some teeth, and I'm about to get like all my teeth yanked up top, but couldn't get it done in time for this podcast. So certain words are going to sound a little bit funny, all right? We're going to do 10 different topics tonight, and here we go with topic number one, and that would be Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. First, let me get this out of the way. I went on John Marks and Ike Reese's show today because they were doing a whole thing about whether or not you are rooting for Andy Reid. So let me get this straight. I'm rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. I almost said Monday because I so want the day after the Super Bowl to be a national holiday. It really should be. I'm rooting for the Chiefs primarily because they have a tremendous fan base who have waited, what is it, like 60 years for this moment to come around again? And whenever I don't have anybody representing me in the big dance, there's no Nova, there's no Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, Phillies, St. Joe's, then I kind of figure out who do I root for. And I always go with the fans first. And Kansas City just has tremendous fans. So I am rooting for Kansas City. Hey, I got nothing against Green Bay, but they got enough titles. If Aaron Rodgers gets another, I can live with that. But I am rooting for the Chiefs. As far as Andy Reid is concerned, yeah, I was really rough on Andy Reid those last 4 or 5 years of his tenure here. I just got tired of him. I got tired of the times yours. I just got tired of him. Any coach manager that hangs around for 14 years without getting a big ring, you're going to eventually want to move on. However, if I really detested him, then I wouldn't be rooting for Kansas City under any standard. You know, the fact that I'm rooting for Kansas City means I'm fine with Andy Reid winning a Super Bowl, and I am fine with it. So good luck to the Kansas City Chiefs. But what I really want to talk about with this Super Bowl is the fact that it's coming to you from Miami. I've been telling you cats for a long time that if you're an American sports fan, you have to sometime in your life go to a Super Bowl. Now, here's what I mean by that. Getting a ticket for the Super Bowl these days has become a really expensive undertaking, like in the thousands, at least like in the $2,000 range, if not more. When I say that everybody out there should go to a Super Bowl, I mean, look ahead because they let you know where the Super Bowls are going to be held 4 or 5 years out of the games. Next time you see that the game's going to be in New Orleans. Next time you see the game is going to be in Miami. Book a room. Book it right away, even though it might be 4 years out. Book the room immediately. Spend at least Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. That'll give you 5 days to take in all the immense partying. And look, America can throw a party. One thing America does great is throw a party. And the Super Bowl is the ultimate party. Don't worry about whether or not you're going to get a ticket to the game. Just go. Go to the parties, even if you don't have exclusive rights to get into this party or that party. Just walk in the streets of South Beach and the French Quarter. You'll have a blast. The only Super Bowl I ever went to was John Elway's last game, Super Bowl 33 in Miami. My buddy Craig Shoemaker, excuse me, my buddy Craig Shoemaker, comic, got hired to do some kind of a Super Bowl comedy show and then booked himself into a comedy club in Miami. But anyway, called me and a guy named Mike Goldberg. He said, hey, I got a room. I got tickets to all these parties. Hop on a plane and get down there, which is what I did. He also had tickets to the game, right? So I hop on a plane and go down there. Well, Shoemaker's tied up all week doing shows. So me and his buddy Mike Goldberg went to all these amazing parties. Now, Mike Goldberg was the writer of a movie I know you love called Cool Runnings about the Jamaica bobsled team with John Candy. Remember that movie? He wrote that. So he was just the coolest guy, and unfortunately he's passed away from cancer, but it was me and Mike all week going to these great parties, including a party at the Scarface house. I mean, the Scarface house. The house where Michelle Pfeiffer comes down that elevator. Oh my, I couldn't believe I was even in it. And you were allowed to freely walk in this house. There was a Picasso on the wall. Anyway, in the backyard of the Scarface house, they had this huge tent. The Big Bad Voodoo Daddies were the band, right? And the place is swinging. There had to be 400 people in this tent. Now, you know me. I love sweets. There's food everywhere you look, but I make a beeline for the sweet table, which has got all kinds of cakes and cookies and a milk chocolate, solid milk chocolate NFL football. I mean, it's like even heavy to hold. Solid milk chocolate football. And I got that thing in my hands. It's wrapped in a, clear plastic, whatever. And I say to myself, right at that moment, that football was going home with me. But not yet. Party had just started. I don't want to carry around this football the whole party. So I go back to my table where Mike Goldberg's sitting. I love stuff like this. So we're just shooting the breeze. I look to my right, and I'm looking at the sweet table when I see a guy tossing the football around a little bit. And I say to Mike, I say, that bastard is going to steal my football. All of a sudden, it's my football, right? He's going to steal my football. I'm convinced that he was. So I go moseying on up to the table to make sure this doesn't happen. And you know who it is? Pete from Chicken and Pete's. And he was going to steal the football. I swear to God he was going to steal the football. And we had the biggest laugh. I said, he goes, where you hanging? I said, I'm right over here with a guy named Mike. So I bring him over to the table. And here, Mike and Pete grew up on the same street in Northeast Philly. Same street. They hadn't seen each other in years. And it was this big, like, homecoming for the two of them. It was a really, really great moment. And then they rekindled the relationship up to the point when Mike died. Do I have anything else I want to say about Super Bowls? Make sure you go to one. I'm not only rooting for Kansas City. I think Kansas City's going to win the game. I don't even know what the point spread is. Ava, find out what the point spread is for that game. Why am I thinking Kansas City will be favored? I want to think like by a lot. I don't gamble. I'm going to say at the most, Kansas City is a 3-point favorite. We'll find that out as the show goes on. So there we go. One card down, Super Bowl. What's this next card say? Movies. You know me. I love movies. Now, I haven't been to a movie. Geez, I don't think I've been to a movie since like July 10th, somewhere in there. There are so many things. This accident happened to me on July 21st. There are so many things in my life that I have not done since July 21st. I haven't been in a car. I'm going to drop that. But I haven't been to a movie. But oh my God, have I seen a million of them laying in my bed. My bed is in a room where we used to have this big piano. It's the smallest room on my first floor. I'm speaking to you from my kitchen area with the dining room in the back. My hospital bed is over there. It's got this big crane that lifts me out of the bed and into this wheelchair. My wife has to do it every night. God bless her. Anyway, so I'm in bed a lot with this wheelchair. And I watch endless movies when I'm in the bed. So I got a bunch I want to talk to you about. But I plan on coming on next week. I might even come on before next week. But I definitely will be on next week. I want to talk to you about the Joker. Of all the movies that are up for Best Picture, none of them. And there were a lot of good movies. I really love Jojo Rabbit. A lot of the movies that are nominated, I really like. But none of them moved me like the Joker. Joker blew me away. It was the darkest damn film. And I know it's being compared to Taxi Driver. And I don't know if it's Taxi Driver, but it sure is damn close to it. And this guy, Todd Phillips, who directed The Joker, he's a director of comedies, old school, The Hangover. By the way, the Chiefs are 1.5 favorite. Where did this come from? How did this script even get past the bigwigs who sit at Hollywood tables? It's so stinking dark. I know this much. There's not a prayer in hell that Joaquin Phoenix doesn't win the Best Actor Oscar because he's stinking phenomenal. It's one of the greatest performances, and I hate when I overhype stuff, but it's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen, ever. The history of movies. And I go back to Sinbad and The Seventh Voyage, way back at the Benson Movie Theater at 64th and Woodland. Uh, it's got a great cast besides Joaquin Phoenix. Frances Conroy plays his mother. Uh, Shea Wingham and Bill Camp play cops, and it's a very tiny role. Robert De Niro, who I got to admit, it took me a little getting used to De Niro as the host of like the Tonight Show. It didn't fly with me right away, but on my second viewing, it didn't bother me. If you haven't seen The Joker, you gotta see it. It's that good. It's not a comic book movie. I thought I was going to see a comic book movie. And by the way, if you're wondering how I saw it, since I've not gone to a movie, like since July, I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA, so they mail me these screener DVDs, and that was one of them. And oh my God, see it. See The Joker. It's my favorite movie of the year, but be forewarned, it's really dark. That's 2 down. What's this next card say? Sixers. All right. This is confusing to me. I have seen every minute of every Sixer game this year because I'm in bed. What am I going to do? I mean, every minute of every game. And even though they're the 5th seed, which is, I don't know what to say about the 5th seed, but they're only a game and a half behind the 3rd seed. Only like a game behind the 4th seed. They're also 1 game away from being the 6th seed. I can't put my finger on it. Something's off. And you know where I'm going with something's off. It's him. It's Brett Brown. When I look at this team on offense, I have no trouble with them defensively, which is why I am not calling for Brett Brown to be fired. I'm not doing that yet. Did do it last year. I'm off it now. I'm not calling for him to be fired because they're playing tremendous defense. And that's a hallmark of good coaching. But offensively, this team does not have a clue. Just give Simmons the ball. I don't want to see anyone else being the point guard, which they sometimes do. They give the ball to Harris or they give the ball to Richardson. If they think they got a good post-up situation for Ben, Embiid's back now. There's your post-up guy. And for those of you out there who like to compare Ben Simmons to Magic Johnson, sometimes that same person will tell me, well, Embiid's clogging up the lane when Simmons goes down the lane to drive it. Baloney. Magic did it with Kareem in the post. I think they should be higher than a 5th seed. I really do. So there's something off. I get the feeling like somebody has got to bring in a offensive-minded assistant coach to help Brown out in this area. They're just not getting it done. There's something off. I can't put my finger on it. And Tobias Harris is, I'm going to say, a little bit better than I thought he was going to be. If you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said Tobias Harris was a lot better than I thought he was going to be. But now I don't know what to, I don't know what to make. I don't, unless something really changes, that they miraculously manage to get a guard who can really shoot the outside J, or somebody gets hurt. I never root for that. But if somebody gets hurt on one of the teams that's a higher seed than the Sixers. I, at this moment, don't see them going farther than the Eastern Conference final, and I'm not sure they get to that. But they got to. If they don't get to the Eastern Conference final, then Brett Brown is gone. That's Sixers. Bother. You know what's bothering me? I'll tell you what's bothering me. I got one word written on this. Spiritual. I never know what to make of that word. Now, bear with me. Why do I have the word spiritual written on that card? Well, it's because so many of you, and I'm blowing 1,000 kisses out to you folks. So many of you have used the word spirituality in your blessings. God bless you, Big Natty. We're rooting for you. Stay tough. Be spiritual. My wife just walked in the kitchen. She always wants you to be more spiritual. I don't know what the word means. Like, if I can bounce my grandkids on my knees and just want to hug them and squeeze them, and I get filled with this tremendous amount of love, isn't that spiritual? I'm confused by what it means. If a beautiful song with a wonderful melody, maybe great harmonies, just fills me with so much joy, isn't that spiritual? But I think what most people mean by it is that it has to be connected to an organized religion, which I am never going to be connected with. I'm just not. And Ava just walked in the room and said, "You got that all wrong." And by the way, if this thing keeps going, I will be having guests, including my associate producer, Norm Clark, who made me say that. She's saying that to me, I think I'm extremely spiritual, but I never tell somebody they have to get more spiritual. I'm not sure what it means. And I got some really good friends who text me every day, who I know really believe deeply in the word spiritual and spirituality. Look, I've heard my whole life that India is a very spiritual country. And my reply to that is always, they let cows shit in the street. So how spiritual can this country be? I just don't know what the word means. By the way, I will not be taking phone calls, but if you want to tweet me during the show, follow me at Big Daddy Graham. Same thing with Facebook. You can like me at Big Daddy Graham. At any point, if you do have the answer, why the Sixers aren't higher than the fifth seed, other than my reason, Brett Brown, if you do know the reason of spirituality, then let me know. If you hated the Joker, write me. Kobe Bryant. It's Wednesday. His unfortunate and tragic death happened on Sunday. So by now, I can't add anything to the tremendous outpouring of sympathy that's been going out to Kobe Bryant. So I'm only going to tell you 2 connections, 2.5 maybe, connections that I have, excuse me, with Kobe Bryant. Let me start with when I was in the 7th grade. I played against his dad, Joe Jellybean Bryant, up at 58th Street Myers Playground. Myers Playground had 2 main courts where the big boys played. This league that I was in, and it was a league, even though, I was in 7th grade or whatever. It was a summer league, played on a side court. And I played Kobe Bryant's dad twice and ran him twice, dominated him twice. He was a tall, gangly, uncoordinated guy at that moment. He was a couple of years younger than me. And nobody even knew that he was Joe Bryant yet. It was only like 5 years later when he was leading the public league in scoring for John Bartram that I realized, oh my God, that's the same guy. And here's Joe Bryant leading the public league in scoring at John Bartram, I might add, courts on which I played on for years. John Bartram was 3 blocks from my house, 2 blocks from Rhea's house at 67th and Elmwood. If you would have told me this gangly dude was going to end up going pro and then becoming the father of Kobe Bryant, I mean, who knew, right? Now I was a great basketball player for 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were the second half of my 7th grade for playing St. Clement's when we won the Catholic League Championship. And then my 8th grade. 8th grade, St. Clement's, I was a really good player because I was tall. I was tall early. I was 6 feet tall early. And then I got to West Catholic, and I was just another player. And by the time I got to my sophomore year, I got a one-way ticket to Palookaville, and Joe Bryant was on his way to the NBA. So that's my connection with his dad, right? Who wouldn't know me from Adam? Or to quote my old man, I wouldn't know Big Daddy Graham if I bumped into him walking down the street. That was my old man's line. So Joe Bryant would not know me today, but I ran you, Joe, twice. You were probably a 5th grader. I was a 7th grader. Twice I dominated you, and you can't take that away from me. What else? By the way, if occasionally you're seeing big gaps in my teeth, I had a bridge fall out, 2 teeth. That's a mess. I got to get all new teeth. Getting that done shortly. All right, Kobe Bryant. Me, Scott Graham, and Neil Hartman used to host a radio show at 12:10 a.m. called The Sports Attack. And it ran for about a year and a half. And we were stationed outside the Philadelphia Sports Writers Banquet, which I just went to last week, by the way. And we were stationed outside it, and we were interviewing people, excuse me, who were going to be getting awards that night. And the next thing you know, we interviewed George Foreman that day, who was just the nicest guy. Somebody brought him out a big tray of hamburgers. I actually have a picture of me and George Foreman eating a hamburger. See, when we get this podcast together, right now, that picture of me and George Foreman would be up on the screen, but not yet. This is like a run-through, so to speak. But anyway, next thing you know, there's Kobe Bryant, who I'd already seen play. In fact, I saw him play against Rip Hamilton when he was playing for Coachville at the Palestra. There's Kobe Bryant sitting at the table right next to me, as a matter of fact. And man, he really had his NBA game together already when he was in high school. Because he sat down, and remember, this is indoors, wearing shades. And I remember that vividly, because when the interview was over, somebody went, "What was up with that, him in shades?" But I didn't take it that way. At the time, there was talk about whether or not Kobe was going to go pro or go to LaSalle and play college ball there. There was no way that Kobe wasn't going pro. And the shades he wore that day, was a signal to me that this guy already had the NBA in his sights. And not just the NBA in his sights, NBA greatness in his sights. And I'm not the least bit surprised that Kobe's death took over the country for 2 or 3 days like it did. First of all, he's got a great name, Kobe, Kobe Bryant, right? Second, he's, I think, in the top 10 basketball players of all time. Some people would have him in the top 5. I might. I always have Oscar Robertson in there, but truth be told, I didn't see Oscar play that much. But he was just that amazing of a basketball player. All those titles, that shooting form, oh my God. I love that shooting form. It was so consistent. He shot free throws the same way. A killer defensive player. I think like 6 or 7 times all first team defensive player. And what? Until Saturday night, only 2 players scored more points than Kobe Bryant, and he's a killer defensive player. I mean, that's really saying a lot. It's just such a great player. Shame about the helicopter. Shame about the daughter. I posted on my Facebook that in the end, Kobe died taking his kid to a game. Something that many of you dads have done. My daughter Ava posted a thing about how I was a great sports dad to my 2 daughters. I was. I never, ever, never even crossed my mind that I was watching girls play instead of boys. Teenage girls playing instead of teenage boys. Never crossed my mind. And I don't believe it ever crossed Kobe Bryant's mind either. And round of applause to him for that. In an odd way, and I hate these things, you know, if his death is going to mean anything, I think it's going to matter a lot to women's sports. I think a lot of people had no idea that Kobe was such an active dad with particularly his daughter Gigi playing, basketball. I didn't. I had no idea of that. Well, I think it's going to help female sports. I do. I don't know, what it means WNBA wise and all that, but it was a tragic death. It really was. And then you throw in the helicopter aspect of it. I hate to say this. I'm never going to get in a helicopter. I've had opportunities to get in a helicopter. I've been to Vegas. I've been to Hawaii. 2 extremely popular destinations for helicopter rides. You can take a helicopter ride, excuse me, to the Grand Canyon from Vegas. And in Hawaii, the helicopter rides are awesome. In fact, in Hawaii, I had a free, who doesn't love free? I had a free helicopter ride to the cruise ship that I organized a trip to. My wife didn't even think about it. I'm not getting on any helicopter. They're just weird ways of getting somewhere. I just would want to hear a great helicopter story. I don't know if any of you remembers a kind of a punk band in this town, Philly, called the Dead Milkmen. Now, I have no idea if this story is completely true, but who cares? It's a great story. I bumped into a guy once who was connected with the Dead Milkmen. Spin Magazine. Remember Spin Magazine? I think there still is a Spin Magazine. They flew the Dead Milkmen in a helicopter from Philly to New York, where they were going to perform at this party. Helicopter hovers over some skyscraper in Manhattan. They hover about 2 feet above where it's going to land. but it's not landing. When the pilot of the helicopter tells the milkman to jump out, that's only 2 feet. So it wasn't a dangerous jump. Turns out, and again, I have no idea if this is true, this helicopter pilot did not get the proper permission to land. The second he landed on this roof, it was going to cost him more money, and he didn't get permission to do it to begin with. That's why he's asking this band to jump out again. But the twirls are going to, and they refused to. They refused to jump out, and he had to fly him back to where it all started, where he landed, and they never did the show. So I don't know what to tell you. That doesn't mean I don't have proper sympathy for Kobe. I do. But helicopters, no, I won't do it. But anyway, he was one awesome player right from this area. And I know there are people who go, oh, wait, spend a lot of that time in Italy. For anybody who's ever listened to my radio show, where you go to high school is where you are from. If you go to high school in Philly and then in your 30s end up being transferred to Phoenix and spend 30 years in Phoenix, you know where you're from? You're from Philly, because that's where you went to high school. And Kobe went to Lower Merion, so he's always going to be a Philly area guy to me. All right, what about this one? Sorry about clearing my throat. There's no commercials. And I have no cough button that I can hit about clearing my throat. All right. Trump. He just spoke in Wildwood, and I just don't understand. People slept overnight in like 28-degree weather to make sure they got into these Trump rallies. That's the part I don't get. I mean, the guy's a total buffoon, a total jackass. I just don't understand. Like, if you hate the system and the way it's been run for a long time, which I'm on board with that, it's not been a great system. But he's not the answer to that. Fine, you didn't like Hillary and you refused to vote for Hillary. Well, I voted for Bernie Sanders. I was not going to vote for Donald Trump. Why would anybody sleep out? There's something, and I'm not getting it. And supposedly these people left a big mess behind of trash. And let me say this too. I'm tired of Trump jokes. And the people that are making these jokes can't stand them. Colbert, whatever, all the late night talk show hosts lead off every show with Trump jokes. Bill Maher, every show with Trump jokes. I can't listen to them anymore. They're not making me laugh. And I can't stand the guy. And they're not making me laugh anymore. And they didn't work anyway. These same people all told these same Trump jokes when he was running. And he got in. So here's a message to all you guys. Stop. It just makes his camp love him more. Now, I don't know if I'm completely right about that. I'm not a political animal. But that's how I feel about it. So there you go. Donald Trump. All right, where are we up next here? How are we doing? Is this going all right?
It's going great.
All right.
What number are you up to?
TV. I don't know what number I'm up to. I think I got 5 left or 4 left. I'm up to TV. Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's back on the air. It's an HBO show. And because it's an HBO show or Showtime show, because it's not on the networks, I'm still afraid that there are people not watching it. I'm looking at you folks here. Is there something wrong? Is this not going out right? Oh, I'm good. Okay. Uh, I'm always afraid that people are not watching Kirby Enthusiasm. Please watch it. It's like the funniest show, like ever. It is. There's 2 more episodes to go. I recommend watching The Outsider. It's a very interesting show. I don't know how it's going to end, and it may have a lousy ending, which is why I didn't lead with it. Okay, but I gotta admit, so far I'm digging it a lot. It's based on a Stephen King novel, and Richard Price, a great writer, is written a screenplay. I like it, and it's on demand. And it's on HBO, as a matter of fact, Sunday nights. It's not a network show. The Godfather of Harlem. I think it's on Epix. Is that how you say Epix? Epix? Epics. Yeah, what a dope I am. Why didn't I figure that out? It's like it took me years to know that NSYNC was NSYNC. Oh, not NSYNC. In excess. I called them Inks for the longest time. I'm such a dope. Godfather of Harlem has every cliche in the book. All right, every mob cliche book you've ever seen, and I still watched every episode in about a day and a half. I love Forrest Whitaker. Vincent, I can never say his name correctly. Vincent D'Onofrio, I think is how you say it. He was in a Full Metal Jacket. He's a very good character actor, and he plays uh, his foil. Why am I Forrest Whitaker's foil? And it's a good show. I recommend checking it out. All right. All right, let me jostle the music. How we doing on time? Where we at? Oh, we're fine. This is good. Um, music. I invented a game. I swear to God, I invented a game. And here's how you play it. Sit there in front of your big screen TV and grab the remote that has the audio button where you can speak into it. And what I do when somebody comes over, I go, well, what's your favorite song? And they'll say, Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. All right. Well, not Rumors, Rhiannon. Let's say Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. So you go, Rhiannon, Fleetwood Mac, YouTube. And up pops the real video for the song, live performances of the song. But if you look at the scroll bar at the bottom, they have all these other artists that have recorded Rhiannon. Some of them are professional, like say Sheryl Crow or Mumford and Son or whatever. Who I think did do Landslide. Some of them are professional. Some of them are people in a kitchen with a guitar. And you can't believe how some of these people sit in the guitar with a kitchen, how great they are. Now, some of them blow. I'll admit, some of them really blow. And you know what? You spend 30 seconds with them and get a giggle out of it. But I'm not kidding. And I don't care if it's a metal, thrash, electronica, country, rap. Just say your favorite song. Make sure you say YouTube at the end of it. And you'll just have so much fun doing this. It's just great. And actually, Ava, what was the song where your band showed up? Oh, damn it. Yeah, what's the name of the song? God, I love this song. It's called I Had the Craziest Dream. I had the craziest dream last night. Yes, I did. It's just a beautiful love song. Sinatra does a great version of it. So I YouTube that. All right. And I keep watching all the other performances of it on the bottom. When up pops the South Philly String Band doing it, not in uniform, in street clothes, coming up. What I can only imagine is 2 Street doing I Had the Craziest Dream. There's some history with the South Philly String Band. My daughter had a close friend by the name of Denny who was in the band along with her father, Denny Palandro. Am I saying that correctly? Palandro. And unfortunately, there was a very sad, infuriating, actually, car accident where they all died. It was horrible. I don't want to get into it that much. But that string band popped up. And Denny's still alive during this performance. And there's his dad, the captain, out in front of it. I had no idea it was even going to pop up. I started crying. I'm just telling you, check this game out. All right, just come up with a favorite song and YouTube it, and you'll be amazed where it might take you. All right, so many. Oh no, I'm down to 2. I'm up to point number 9. All right, this one I'm going to have to go to my iPhone. Not there. Where am I going with this? All right. I was out of the hospital, home, and then I went back in the hospital to get my colostomy bag. Now, this is a good podcast. You don't get a lot of colostomy bag conversation on a podcast. So I go back in to get my colostomy bag, and then something went wrong. I don't know what. And I had to spend like 3 days in the hospital. And I'm in the hospital when all of a sudden, let me get this straight. I got it here in front of me. I don't know where I'm at. Now, let me just tell you where I was at. I was in bed. I think having a dream. It was either a dream or a flat out hallucination. I'm not kidding. It was one or the other. But it turned out I never left the bed. But I'm on my hands and knees. And I'm like looking in a dollhouse. And the dollhouse, the wall of the dollhouse, the wall is about 4 inches from my face. The wall in front of me is about 2 inches in front of my face. The wall, obviously, to this side, 2 inches here. So it was a very claustrophobic thing. And I had no idea where I was. And I got to admit, I'm getting a little bit nervous about the whole thing. I can see in this little room, there's a television, and Fox is on with Mike Jarrett. And I'm going, wait a minute. What time is it? And real slowly but surely, I realized that I'm in my hospital room. And then a nurse enters the scene, but it's a tiny version of the nurse walking into a tiny version of my hospital room. Oh my God, it was so weird. I'm just seeing what I'm missing for that. I started screaming my wife's name out to come get me. Then I started screaming for a nurse, and she came in and is shaking me, going, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm yelling at her, "Where am I?" It was so bizarre. Oh, I'm leaving out the best part. Now, I don't even know if I want to get into this part. At one point, before the nurse walked into the room, I thought I had died. I have this weird little theory. What if you end up spending eternity in the spot you died in? What if you die at home in your recliner watching the Sixers? Well, that's where you'll spend eternity, sitting in your recliner watching the Sixers. What if you die of thyroid attack? Well, there you go. That's how you're going to spend it. So I just pictured I finally bit it. I was dead and I died in my hospital bed, and this is where I was going to spend the rest of eternity. There you go, folks. You get that from me free of charge. That's for, you know what, I got to admit, I haven't been out of my bed or a wheelchair since July 21st. And I am thinking more about where we're going after this more than I ever did. So I guess that's what happened. All right, which leads to this. First of all, I hope you've hung with the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I discussed it with my associate producer, Norman Clark, my director, Ava Graham, and they all said I should save this for last. My health. What happened? Okay, I've written it as best as I could. This is actually the first opportunity I'm getting to tell you the whole story. It's July 21st, about 5 o'clock in the evening. I just left the beach. I'm in the living room with my wife, having an argument. All my fault, by the way, the argument was, which I kind of regret a little bit. But I can't say it was that much more heated than any other argument I ever had. But during this argument, apparently there was a blood pressure spike that caused this blood clot to burst and bleed into my back. Now, into my spinal cord, actually. Now, of course, I had no idea any of this was going on. Neither did my wife. I got hit with this insane pain in my lower back, and I tried walking it off. I tried sitting it off. I laid on the couch. I then laid on the floor, and I never got up. That was it. I haven't walked since. I was standing 1 minute, paralyzed the next. No car accident. No fall down a flight of steps. I get taken to a hospital in Cape May. Then he put me back in the ambulance, took me to a hospital in Atlantic City. They put me back in the ambulance, take me to a hospital in Philly, and there you go. Has emergency surgery done on me somewhere, maybe 20 hours or so after I arrived at the hospital, and I haven't walked since. I spent about 4 days in the hospital. Then I went to McGee Rehab, who I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how much I love those people at McGee Rehab. They worked on me so hard. Jackie and Rachel and Robin and Dr. Formal, they worked on me so hard. I did 3 hours of rehab every day, hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half in the afternoon. Spent about 80 days in McGee Rehab. I guess my upper body has gotten stronger, but I barring some new medical discovery, or really, I guess, kind of like a miracle. I don't know if I'm ever going to walk again. You can't see my wheelchair from this camera angle we're in, but I got a really great motorized wheelchair, and I got a manual wheelchair as well. One of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast is to signal to everybody I'm getting ready. I spent 4 months I couldn't even tell you where I was that 4 months. Well, I was in bed for 4 months is where I was. And thank God for my wife and PT people that would come in and took great care of me. But I can't tell you where those 4 months went. Now I'm starting to pick it up. I went to the sports writers banquet last week. I'm going to start getting down. I got a call ahead to make sure where I'm going is wheelchair accessible. New Jersey Paratransit. As long as I'm going from Jersey to Jersey, they're really great and really inexpensive. Joe Conklin, my man, Joe Conklin, just threw this great benefit for me and raised so much money. And there's way more people to thank than just Joe, but it would take me an hour. Everybody who performed and introduced at it. But it was Joe's baby. And thanks to Joe, I do have the money to buy my own van that'll be wheelchair accessible. Not quite ready to do that yet. I would say, though, within the month, I'll be doing that. So I'll be able to, go places at night as well. Now, I can't say I'm feeling 100% yet. This was a little bit of a struggle. I'm feeling it now a little bit, but I'm back. I'm back. All right, back. I can't say better than ever. That would be a lie. I'm not better than ever. You're going to have to deal with a new version of me. But I thank you so much for listening and watching this tonight. It meant a lot to me to be able to do it. Your cards and letters, oh my God, and gifts. Oh, and comments are pouring in on this now. Hello to Party Time Gerald, who just called my daughter. I hope you enjoyed it. That's what I'm going to do. 10 little different things. This you're not going to have to listen to again. It's the only time I'm telling the story of what happened with my health and all that. Unless I have breaking news about my health, I'm done talking about it. From here on in, that will not be one of the topics. So I don't want anyone to think, oh my God, I'm going to have to listen to him whine about his health. No, this was it. This one time. All right? Thank you. Thanks for coming out. Later.